What if I were to tell you that your child had a migraine headache every day when they woke up? Would you feel a little bit different about them? Would you request things differently? Would you treat them differently? Well, it may not be a migraine headache, but it's like taking the function away, like a migraine headache does if you have hypersensitivity in your senses. So we learned in kindergarten that we bring in information through our five senses. We have our auditory, our visual, our touch, our smell, and our taste. And the brain should be just getting that information and dealing with it as it comes along, and it's no big deal. But if your child has hypersensitivity in that area, they just smell it too much, feel it too much, hear it too much. We talked about hearing before. Visually, they could be hyper peripheral, like seeing too much in their peripheral. Any of those things is like a just a overstimulation to the sensory system and is about as debilitating as a migraine headache. So once we talk about this, you're going to be able to see your child differently. Now, what do I mean by hypersensitivity? That means, like I was saying just then, smelling too much. If your child goes into any area, a restaurant, a bathroom, any place in the house, oh, I can't eat tonight because you're fixing broccoli and it smells too much or something. That is hyper odor, and it just sends them into a new place. It's like they can't even pay any attention to anything else because all they can do is smell too much. Now, if I mentioned hyperperipheral, like seeing too much on the side. So if they're sitting by a window trying to do their homework or their schoolwork if they're homeschooled, and the leaf blows, a limb bends and the leaf blows, that's going to draw their attention off. If a bird flies by, that's going to take their attention. And on the outside, if you didn't know what you were looking for, you would just think they can't pay attention because they're not paying attention. But something is hyper, it's too much, it's drawing their attention away in their peripheral vision. Now, all of these things that I'm telling you are things that are developmental and they can be changed. That's what's so fabulous about neurodevelopment. That's why I love being a neurodevelopmentalist. I'm Dr. Jan Bedell, and I've been doing this work for 30 years, helping families realize these hypersensitivities, giving them activities to do to fix these things, and seeing the children's lives changed. Now, in a whole different episode, I talked about the auditory being hyper. I put that all in one separate one because it's so involved and there's so much to it. So today we're just going to talk about the other four. So we talked about smelling too much. What about tasting too much? So do you think if you had hyper taste buds, that it would be a problem for you in eating? You would just want to eat bland foods, or you would want to eat all spicy foods. It's like one or the other. It's not medium in the middle. So that could limit what they eat because of that those taste buds just tasting too much. The tactile system is a whole, when I was just thinking about the taste buds, another aspect to eating is the sensitivity in the mouth. So if you have hypersensitivity in the mouth, they may not like textures of food. So, if it's squishy, they don't want to have anything to do with it, or if it's crunchy, or whatever it is that's causing their system to feel overloaded by that sensory texture of food, that can also limit their abilities to eat different foods. And sometimes it's like interpreted as pain. When these things are hyper, it's like the migraine. It's like painful, even though you think, it's not that much and it's not that big a deal, and everybody else is eating this, and why can't you? And it's because the brain is interpreting those things differently than it should in a hyper way. Let's see. So touch, it could be in the mouth, it could be on the limbs or on the torso, where clothes are just driving them crazy. So they've got that tag and they're squirming around and going, trying to get away from that touch because it's just painful to their brain. In their brain, it's interpreted as pain, and they're just trying to get away from that pain. And you're looking over there, and here they are, just going everywhere. You're thinking, I have a hyperactive child. They can't even sit still for a second. But what's happening is they're trying to get away from that pain or deal with the pain. The coping and compensating that these kids have to do is at a pretty high level just to be able to get through life. I've had families that had to carry their child out to the car because they had to get to church, and the child just could not get their sock to be workable. That line on the sock, it was bugging their toes, and so they would take their shoes off and take their socks off and try to adjust and put them back on. And it was just, it's a frustrating situation if you don't know what the child is dealing with, because you're just like, put your sock on. It's not that big a deal. But to them, it is. So just trying to help you see the difference here. Some children are so hyper, they can't wear jeans. They have to have slick clothing or something. And I tell you what, the worst thing for your energy, for your body, there's been tons of different research done on synthetic clothing. So if your child's having, well, every child really needs to be in cotton, in my opinion, or linen, or wool, which is not blended. Uh, the Bible even talks about not wearing blended clothing, blended fabrics, because everything has a frequency. Everything in the universe vibrates at a certain frequency. And it's the same for your polyesters and your synthetic fabrics and your natural fabrics. So think about that too. But if your child won't wear jeans, there's your cotton. And so what do you have them wear, right? But just an understanding of this will help you just get through the day until you can do something about it. So we've talked about smell and taste and the auditory and the visual and the tactile. So again, if there's just one of these things going on with your child, no big deal. They can get through life easy. What if all of them are hyper and they're just bombarded from every direction? You just want to pull a blanket up over your head and try to disappear when there's that much coming at you. So that actually causes a stress response as well. So you've got cortisol going crazy, and that messes up your chemistry, which a lot of times, they say the chemistry is messed up for these kids with ADHD. Well, yes, because of all this extra cortisol, the extra adrenaline that's going on to just cope with these hypersensitivities. So there's things that you can do about it. We talked on the auditory about how you can do some listening. There's techniques that you can use to stimulate the inside of the mouth so that that is more normalized. We work with the trigeminal nerve, which is one of the largest nerves in the body, controls the eyes, the nose, the lips, the mouth, all this area. And that really really making those connections often calms down that hypersensitivity as well. So if you have some questions about that, just drop your question in the comments and somebody will get back with you. We also have live consults at brainsprints.com. You can schedule a consultation and let us know kind of what's going on with your child so that we can know how to direct you best for some help. Because again, as we started out, this migraine thing, it's debilitating. And so can the other hypersensitivities be debilitating. So seeing it differently will help you look in a different direction instead of just medication or coping and compensating, which is the current most prevalent, I guess, idea of things that should be done. There's lots of other things that can be done that are natural and really change the child's life. And once these things are fixed, once the brain recognizes it correctly, it doesn't go back. And so that is the good news. Once you really invest time and effort into fixing something like this, everything just starts to line up the way it's supposed to in your development. So remember, you're the key to your child's success. So keep looking and you will find what will help them.